Have you ever taken last night's dinner from the refrigerator, heated it until it was steaming hot, and thought, well, now it must be safe? What if the most important mistake happened hours before you pressed that button? Not inside the microwave, not because the food was cold, and not because leftovers are automatically dangerous. The real problem may have started quietly while the food sat on the counter, cooled too slowly, or was heated, chilled, and heated again. And after 50, that difference matters. Because many of us do something very sensible. We cook once and eat twice. We save chicken. We keep extra rice. We warm soup because it often tastes even better the next day. That is not careless. That is real life. But here is the bold truth. The advice, just heat it until it is very hot and everything will be fine, can be misleading. Never reheat food because reheated food causes cancer. No, the truth is more useful than either extreme. So let me give you relief right now. Eating one reheated meal does not mean you will get pancreatic cancer. Yesterday's dinner does not suddenly become poison because you warmed it today. And if you have reheated leftovers for 30, 40, or even 60 years, please do not sit there feeling guilty. You were being practical. You were feeding your family. You were avoiding waste. Your experience matters. But there are 8 foods where the details deserve attention. And number 1 is the food I especially do not want you to skip, because millions of families eat it every day. By the end, you will understand something many frightening headlines leave out. Sometimes the microwave is blamed for a problem it did not create. You will know what deserves real caution, what may be exaggerated, and the simple 5-word routine I want you to remember tomorrow. Now, before the countdown, keep 4 ideas in your mind. Food sitting warm too long. Large portions cooling too slowly. The whole batch being warmed and chilled again and again. And very high heat that burns, chars, or repeatedly breaks down oil. Those are different problems. That is the key. Gentle warming is not the same as burning. Poor storage is not the same as reheating. And a processed meat is not the same as a mushroom. Once you see those differences, the whole subject becomes calmer. There is also one related question many of you have asked. What happens when food is reheated in old or scratched plastic containers? That deserves a separate, careful video because the type of container, its condition, and the food inside can all matter. If you want that investigation, write just one word in the comments, plastic, and subscribe to Premium Health Harbor and turn on the bell because this is exactly the kind of everyday question nobody discussed clearly enough earlier. Now keep your attention on the first food. It is one of the most popular protein choices after 50. Many people cook it on Sunday and eat it again on Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. But the second heating may not be the real issue. The bigger question is what happened in between. Food number 8 is leftover chicken and other cooked meats. And before anything else, I want to remove an unnecessary fear. Yesterday's chicken does not suddenly become poisonous because you warmed it today. Current evidence does not support saying that ordinary reheated chicken directly causes pancreatic cancer. The useful concern is more specific. Picture this. You cook chicken on Sunday. On Monday, you remove the whole container, warm everything, eat one piece, then return the rest to the refrigerator. Tuesday comes. The whole batch gets hot again, then cold again. By Wednesday, perhaps it happens once more. Now ask yourself, was the real issue simply reheated chicken? Not really. A better question is how it was stored, how often the whole batch moved through warm and cold temperatures, and whether it was gently warmed or repeatedly fried until dark. High-temperature cooking of meat can form compounds called HCAs and PAHs. The U.S. National Cancer Institute has discussed these because researchers study their ability to affect DNA under certain conditions. But please notice the difference. A concerning compound is not proof that one reheated chicken dinner causes pancreatic cancer. That leap is too large. So use 4 simple habits. Store cooked chicken promptly. Divide a large batch into meal-sized portions. Heat only what you plan to eat. And avoid repeatedly scorching the meat until the edges become black. For leftovers, food safety guidance commonly recommends reheating to 165 degrees Fahrenheit or about 74 degrees Celsius. A food thermometer can be useful with thick pieces because the outside may feel hot while the center is cooler. And if you do not know how long the chicken sat out or it was forgotten in a warm car, do not assume extra heat can repair every earlier mistake. Here is the hopeful part. Chicken can still be a useful source of protein, and protein matters as we age because maintaining muscle supports strength, balance, and independence. So the message is not fear leftover chicken. It is store it well, portion it early, heat what you need, do not burn it. That is a much calmer rule, but number 7 creates a different fear. People hear that its cholesterol can oxidize, then one real chemical idea gets stretched into a much bigger cancer claim. Food number 7 is eggs and egg dishes, scrambled eggs, omelets, quiche, breakfast casseroles. And here is the first thing I want you to remember. Eggs are not the enemy. Ordinary reheating has not been proven to turn yesterday's egg into a cause of pancreatic cancer. Yes, egg yolks contain cholesterol. Under certain heat and oxygen conditions, cholesterol can oxidize, and researchers study cholesterol oxidation products. That is real chemistry. But watch how misinformation grows. Cholesterol can oxidize. Then, reheating creates dangerous compounds. Therefore, reheated eggs cause cancer. Those are 3 different claims. The last one is much stronger than the evidence allows. So focus on what you can control. If scrambled eggs sit on the table for hours before refrigeration, the important question may be storage, not tomorrow's microwave. If a quiche is chilled promptly, then one slice is removed and heated evenly while the rest stays cold. That is a different situation. And remember the whole dish. An egg casserole containing sausage, cheese, milk, spinach, and potatoes is not just an egg. Every ingredient becomes part of the storage story. Eggs also provide high-quality protein, vitamin B12, choline, and other nutrients. For many older adults, that can fit into a nourishing diet. So keep this simple. Chill egg dishes promptly. Warm only what you need. Heat evenly. And do not let a frightening headline turn a useful food into an imaginary poison. Now the next food changes the story again. Because the most important warning is not about cancer at all. It is about how a hot, dense food cools, especially when foil is involved. Food number 6 is cooked potatoes. Mashed, roasted, boiled, baked. Again, relief first. A potato does not become a proven pancreatic carcinogen because you reheated it. But imagine a baked potato wrapped in foil. Dinner ends. One potato remains on the counter. It stays wrapped. Time passes. Later it is refrigerated, then reheated tomorrow. The important concern is not simply the second heating. Under certain poor storage conditions, foil-wrapped baked potatoes have been linked to a rare but serious food safety risk involving Clostridium botulinum, the bacterium associated with botulism. Please do not panic. I am not saying every foil-wrapped potato is dangerous. The concern is specific. Low oxygen, unsafe temperature, and enough time can create a risky situation. So do not leave foil-wrapped baked potatoes sitting around for unnecessary hours. Handle leftovers promptly and follow safe refrigeration practices. Now think about mashed potatoes. A huge, deep bowl may cool slowly in the center. That is why dividing a large batch into smaller, shallower containers can help. And if you want one serving tomorrow, heat one serving. Do not warm the whole bowl and chill it again. Some of you may also know that cooling cooked potatoes can increase resistant starch. That is a separate nutrition question. Proper cooling can change starch structure. Poor storage can still create a food safety problem. Both ideas can exist at the same time. And if a potato dish has been sitting outside for hours at a summer picnic, the question is not, how hot should I reheat it? The better question may be whether it should be eaten at all. After 50, severe vomiting or diarrhea can lead to dehydration more quickly than many people expect. Persistent vomiting, confusion, major weakness, blood in the stool, or signs of serious dehydration deserve medical attention. But please keep the larger message positive. Potatoes can provide potassium, vitamin C, and energy. The lesson is not fear. It is respect for time, temperature, and storage. Now, food number 5 may surprise you for a completely different reason. For years, people have repeated this warning. Never reheat mushrooms. Their proteins change and become toxic. It sounds scientific, but is it? The reassuring truth is that there is no good evidence that ordinary reheating suddenly turns properly stored mushrooms into a pancreatic cancer-causing food. Yes, heat changes proteins, but heat changes proteins in eggs, chicken, milk, many foods. Chemical change does not automatically mean toxic change. That one idea can protect you from a lot of unnecessary fear. Suppose you make creamy mushroom soup and leave the pot warm on the stove for hours. Tomorrow you boil it again. The concern is not that mushroom protein magically became poison. The concern is the storage history of a perishable soup. Now compare that with cooked mushrooms chilled promptly in a suitable container, then one portion warmed the next day. Different story. So with mushrooms, think about the whole dish. Cream, meat, pasta, rice. Those ingredients matter too. Cool the dish promptly. Store it properly. Heat only what you need. And if you repeatedly develop pain, vomiting, severe diarrhea, swelling, or trouble breathing after a food, do not automatically blame reheating. A different medical issue may need evaluation. Mushrooms can still add useful nutrients, flavor, and texture to meals. So once again, knowledge should expand your choices, not shrink your life. And now we reach a major turning point, because the next warning contains a small piece of real chemistry. That is exactly why it sounds so convincing. Food number 4 is spinach and other nitrate-rich leafy greens. Spinach is a nutritious food. I want that sentence clear before anything else. It provides folate, vitamin K, carotenoids, fiber, and other plant compounds. But online, you may hear this chain. Spinach contains nitrate. Nitrate can become nitrite. Nitrite can help form certain N-nitroso compounds. Some nitrosamines can be harmful. Therefore, reheated spinach causes cancer. The first parts describe real areas of chemistry. The final conclusion does not automatically follow. A possible pathway is not proof that one bowl of reheated spinach causes pancreatic cancer. Dose matters, storage matters, the food around the compound matters, the human evidence matters, and a spinach leaf is not a hot dog. That may sound obvious, but the whole food environment is different. Vegetables contain a complex mixture of nutrients and plant compounds. So we should not take one chemical word out of context and frighten people away from leafy greens. Imagine two situations. In the first, cooked spinach sits warm for hours, then the whole batch is chilled, reheated, cooled again, and warmed another day. In the second, the spinach is handled promptly, stored properly, and one portion is warmed. Those are different histories. So the practical advice stays calm. Cool cooked greens promptly. Use smaller containers for large batches. Warm only what you plan to eat. Avoid unnecessary warm-cool cycles. And this is important enough that I want you to remember one question whenever a frightening health headline appears. What does the evidence actually prove? If this distinction is useful, like the video and save it now. Not because I want another empty click, but because that question may protect your peace the next time someone tells you a healthy food is secretly poisoning you. Now the countdown changes again, because the next food is not simply a whole food surrounded by an exaggerated reheating myth. Here, the cancer evidence is stronger, but the biggest concern may have started before the microwave door ever opened. Food number 3 is processed meat. Bacon, sausage, hot dogs, ham, salami, some deli meats. And here is the bold truth. The biggest problem with reheated bacon may not be that you reheated it. The bigger problem may be what the bacon already was. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies processed meat as carcinogenic to humans, with the strongest established evidence involving colorectal cancer. Now please stay with me because this is often misunderstood. It does not mean one slice of bacon gives you cancer. And being in the same hazard category as tobacco does not mean the size of the risk is equal. The classification tells us there is evidence of a cancer hazard. It does not say every hazard carries the same risk. For pancreatic cancer specifically, the picture is less simple. Studies have explored processed meat, high-temperature cooking, and related compounds, but the evidence does not justify saying one reheated hot dog causes pancreatic cancer. Still, the long-term pattern deserves attention. Picture Robert, age 67. Bacon and sausage at breakfast. Deli meat at lunch. Ham and dinner soup. Robert may worry about reheating one strip of bacon, but the more meaningful question may be the daily pattern repeated for years. Now picture Susan, age 71. She enjoys bacon occasionally, but most days chooses other foods that suit her needs. Those are different patterns. And that is hopeful, because health is rarely decided by one meal. So if processed meat is common in your diet, do not panic and empty the refrigerator tonight. Consider making it less frequent. Avoid burning it until black. Choose fresh or minimally processed protein foods more often when practical. And be curious about labels. Words like natural or uncured do not always tell the whole story. Food is also memory. Holiday ham, Sunday bacon, a family sausage recipe. I respect that. The goal is not to erase pleasure. It is to see where one small adjustment may support the years ahead. And now we reach number 2. This one deserves sharper attention because repeated high heat can genuinely change the food. Have you ever looked at oil left in a frying pan and thought, it still looks usable, why waste it? Food number 2 is fried foods and repeatedly heated cooking oil. I understand the habit. Oil is expensive. Food is expensive. Many of us were taught to waste nothing. But repeated heating can change oil, especially as heat, oxygen, and time continue to stress the fat. Oil may darken. The smell may change. It may thicken, foam differently, smoke sooner. Those changes can signal significant breakdown. Researchers study oxidation products, including compounds such as aldehydes, because repeatedly heated oils can create a very different chemical environment from fresh oil used appropriately. But precision matters. One reheated French fry has not been proven to cause pancreatic cancer. The more reasonable concern is repeated oil degradation and frequent exposure to heavily fried or burned foods. Picture 2. Kitchens. In one, a small amount of fresh oil is used appropriately, then the pan is cleaned. In another, deep frying oil is heated, cooled, saved, heated again, filled with burned crumbs, then pushed until it smokes. Those are not the same situation. And here is another distinction. Reheating is not always recooking. Gently warming leftover fried chicken is one thing. Frying it again until the coating becomes dark and hard is another. So use 3 simple checks. Look, smell, notice. Has the oil become very dark? Does it smell harsh or rancid? Is it smoking unusually early or filled with burned debris? Your senses cannot detect every harmful compound, but obvious degradation should not be ignored. And do not wait for oil to smoke before believing it is hot enough. Smoke is a sign of intense heat stress, not extra health protection. You do not need a fat-free life. You do not need a perfect kitchen. The goal is less repeated oil abuse, less burning, and more variety in cooking methods. That is realistic. And now we have reached number 1. This is the food that creates some of the strongest reactions. People say, my family has done this for 70 years. Others say, millions of people across Asia eat it. And they are right to ask questions. Because the same food is described as healthy when cooled, dangerous when stored, and deadly when reheated. How can all 3 claims exist? Food number 1 is rice. And let me begin with the sentence I wish every frightened viewer heard first. Rice is not poison. Properly reheated rice has not been proven to cause pancreatic cancer simply because it was warmed again. If you have eaten leftover rice for decades, do not count every bowl with regret. That is not what the evidence asks you to do. But rice does have a real food safety issue, and it is widely misunderstood. Uncooked rice can contain spores of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Think of a spore as a tiny survival capsule. Some spores may survive cooking. If cooked rice then sits warm for too long, they can grow, and under some conditions, toxins can be produced. Here is the crucial point. Later reheating may not reliably undo every problem created during poor storage. So imagine dinner ends at 7. Rice stays in the pot. 8 o'clock passes. Then 9. At 10, it finally goes into the refrigerator. Tomorrow, it is microwaved until steaming. What was the most important part of that story? Not necessarily the microwave. Those hours of warm storage may matter more. That is why saying, reheated rice causes cancer can distract from a more established concern. food poisoning from poor time and temperature control. So remember 4 words: cool it, store it, portion it, heat it. Cool rice promptly. Use smaller, shallow portions rather than leaving a huge warm mass sitting around. Store it appropriately. Take only what you need. Then heat that portion thoroughly and evenly. And yes, cooled rice can develop more resistant starch under certain conditions. That is a nutrition question. Safe storage is a food safety question. They do not contradict each other. Properly cooled rice is not the same as rice forgotten warm on the counter. What about fried rice? Previously cooked rice is commonly used for texture. Again, the key question is how that rice was cooled and stored. What about frozen rice? Proper freezing can be useful. What about packaged microwave rice? Commercial processing and sealed packaging create a different situation, so follow the product directions. The storage history matters. And now I owe you the direct answer promised from the beginning. Do these 8 foods cause pancreatic cancer simply because you reheated them? No, current evidence does not support that claim. One warmed egg does not mean pancreatic cancer. Yesterday's chicken does not become a pancreatic tumor at lunch. Properly stored spinach does not become a proven cancer cause because it gets warm. And one reheated bowl of rice is not a cancer diagnosis. This is the relief I wanted you to reach. But relief should not become carelessness. Some concerns are real. Processed meat has established cancer evidence, especially for colorectal cancer. Repeatedly abused cooking oil deserves caution. Heavily charred meat creates compounds researchers study. Poorly stored rice can cause food poisoning. These are different problems, different levels of evidence, different practical choices. Pancreatic cancer itself is complex. Important risk factors can include smoking, age, obesity, certain inherited risks, family history, chronic pancreatitis, and other factors researchers continue to study. So please do not reduce a serious disease to one leftover container. And do not let fear of food make you ignore symptoms. Unexplained jaundice, dark urine, pale stools, unexplained weight loss, persistent loss of appetite, ongoing upper abdominal pain, sometimes moving toward the back. A new pattern of symptoms that does not settle. None of these proves pancreatic cancer. Many other conditions can cause similar symptoms, but persistent, unexplained, or worsening symptoms deserve medical evaluation. And please never stop prescribed medication because of a YouTube video. Daily habits can be powerful, but good lifestyle care and good medical care can work together. Now you may be thinking, Michael, what do I actually remember tomorrow? 5 words. Cool, divide, date, portion, heat. Cool perishable leftovers promptly, rather than letting tomorrow's meal wait warm on the counter. Divide large pots into smaller, shallower containers so the center does not stay warm for unnecessary hours. Date the container. A tiny label is easier than standing in front of the refrigerator wondering, was this Monday or Thursday? Portion before reheating. If you want 1 bowl, take 1 bowl. The rest stays chilled. Then heat the portion properly and evenly. For many leftovers, U.S. food safety guidance recommends 165 degrees Fahrenheit, about 74 degrees Celsius. With thick foods, a thermometer can reduce guesswork. In a microwave, stirring, rotating, and allowing standing time can help with uneven heating. Cool, divide, date, portion, heat. That is the calm kitchen method. No miracle supplement, no expensive detox, no fear. And you may already be doing several of these things. Give yourself credit for that. Maybe your mother taught you to portion food. Maybe your father labeled containers. Maybe your family has always cooled rice promptly. You are not beginning from zero. You are building on wisdom you already have. Now, 4 quick questions before we close. Are frozen meals dangerous simply because they are reheated? No. Follow package directions carefully, especially instructions to stir, rotate, or allow standing time. A frozen meal can be hot at the edges and cool in the center. What about soups and stews? Batch cooking can be wonderful. The issue is that a huge, deep pot may cool slowly. Divide it, store it appropriately, and heat 1 portion rather than the whole pot every day. What if you live alone? You do not need to give up batch cooking. In fact, preparing several portions can protect your energy. Think of one large pot as several future meals. That is not laziness, that is care. And is the microwave itself the villain? No, not in the simple way frightening headlines suggest. Microwave energy is non-ionizing. Your food does not become radioactive. The practical issue is often uneven heating, which is why stirring and standing time can matter. So tomorrow morning, you may open your refrigerator and see the same containers you saw yesterday. Rice, chicken, soup, potatoes, vegetables. Nothing inside changed because you watched this video. But something else changed. The way you look at it. You no longer need to see every leftover as poison. You no longer need to believe that steaming hot erases every earlier storage mistake. And you no longer need to feel helpless when two health videos tell you opposite things. Now you can ask better questions. How long did it sit out? How quickly was it cooled? Was the whole batch heated again and again? Was it gently warmed? Or repeatedly burned? Is this a whole food? Or a processed product with a different evidence base? Those questions give you something fear never can control. And if you are 60, 70, 80, or beyond, and you have reheated food for most of your life, please do not leave this video carrying regret. You fed your family. You stretched the grocery budget. You saved food because waste felt wrong. You cared for children. Perhaps you cared for aging parents too. Those years should not be reduced to one frightening headline. Your experience has value. Today, we simply added a few useful details. Maybe tomorrow you cool the rice sooner. Maybe you divide the soup. Maybe you stop reheating the whole casserole when you want one slice. Maybe processed meat becomes occasional instead of daily. Maybe old, dark frying oil is no longer worth saving. One change, not 20. One. Because a healthier life is rarely built in one dramatic afternoon. It is built quietly. A better breakfast, a short walk, a little more sleep, a medical appointment you stopped postponing, one container labeled with a date, one meal portioned before it enters the refrigerator. Small actions become habits. Habits become patterns, and patterns can shape the years ahead. So I want to ask you one meaningful question. What did you learn today that genuinely changed the way you think about leftovers? Write 1 or 2 sentences in the comments. And if this video helped you, save it and share it with one person you care about. Not to frighten them, to give them relief. Now take one small pledge with me. I will not fear my food. I will handle it with care. I will respect my body. And I will make one wiser choice at a time. One wiser choice at a time. That is enough. My name is Dr. Michael Carter, Senior Health Advisor. Thank you for watching my video. Take good care of yourself, protect your peace, keep asking thoughtful questions, and remember, you are never too old to make one positive change. I'll see you in the next video.